Hi, Phil. Welcome back to the program. It's been a long time.
Hi, Sarah. Yes, it has. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
Well, you were a regular. You were one of my scientists that would come back on the program all the time. And then everything, just hell broke loose. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation again. You are very unique. You have 5 degrees. You wanted to understand things at a very broad level. You didn't want to do like a PhD and just get this little niche here. You wanted I want to understand. And I love that because that's kind of my personality too. I'm like, I want to understand. And, but you went and got degrees for that purpose. Can you tell people your background a little bit? Because not only that, you worked for NASA, not directly, but for one of their big subcontractors.
No, directly for NASA, JPL, 15 years, and most of it in Pasadena. And I took on a special assignment at the Martin Marietta facility, and I was the JPL representative on a major project above top secret. And I came to Colorado in about 1985, and I've been here ever since.
And that above top secret, what you learned with that changed your whole perspective on life, I'm assuming.
Well, let me start from the very beginning. I went to Catholic school. I was never a good Catholic because I just didn't buy into it. But when Sister Helen said he walked on water, he raised the dead, he healed the sick, changed water to wine, I was hooked on mysticism. What were those miracles? Who were those saints? How'd they do that? And I wanted to know all about that. And I pursued it. And as I got older and learned more, I found out every culture, every country had mystics and saints and people involved in the paranormal. And so I knew it wasn't just a Christian thing, and I pursued it from every perspective I can. I studied with the major mystery schools like Golden Dawn, the Rosicrucians, Freemasons, Builders of the Idiom, and I wanted to get my degree in parapsychology because I found that there were doctors and scientists involved in the research and investigation of the paranormal. So I pursued that. And of course, Dad said, well, son, you just can't keep chasing ghosts. You got to earn a living. And he encouraged me to go get my degree in engineering. And I'm a handyman. I do a lot of things with my hands. I'm very good at all projects and such. And so I pursued engineering. And one thing led to another. And I got an engineering degree in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. And to get my parapsychology degree, my professor said, you need to get a degree in anthropology and psychology to support parapsychology. So I did. About 13 years of college.
But since then, you got more degrees, right? I mean, you just kept getting degrees and kept studying.
Yeah. Well, I've got 5 science degrees, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, anthropology, psychology, and parapsychology. But I also have 6 professional certifications, including 2 from Caltech.
Wow, yeah,
So
you just kept going.
To learn all the different, I did. I wanted to learn everything is connected. That's pretty much the theme of where I'm focusing on everything lately.
Okay, well,
I've been lecturing. I've had a couple of interviews.
Yeah, let's rewind that because that's what we're going to talk about, how everything is connected. But since then, you're raised Catholic, and this is what people probably are going to ask. You're deeply spiritual, though, right? I mean, you're not. Religion isn't your thing, but it's as you learn this, it's hard not to be spiritual, right? I mean,
Absolutely. I'm very spiritual, and I'm involved in spiritual activities. I'm part of a major spiritual organization. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary last year, and it's called Dragon Fest, dragonfest.org.
oh, wow.
And part of that for 37 years. This year is going to be 38. And I've been on the board of directors, corporate officer. I've done workshops. I've been a vendor and a merchant. And I'm very involved in that spiritual organization and several others. The SSE is a science organization, and that's the Society for Scientific Exploration. And I'm the co-founder of the Boulder chapter. And we have monthly meetings. And the international conference, I helped organize and put it on in Boulder for 5 years. And that was a very, very big deal because that was a lot of all the scientists are part of this SSE are involved in the paranormal, metaphysics, and magic.
And magic.
One of my favorite, yeah, actually, one of my favorite scientists who's part of that is Dr. Dean Radin. And he wrote 2 books. He wrote several books. My favorite are his 2 books. One of them is called Magic, Real Magic. And the one I'm reading right now is called The Science of Magic.
Well, and some people hear the word, some people hear the word magic and they suddenly think it's evil and dark and bad. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I know. Or they think of it in terms of tricks and stage magic, which is prestidigitation. No, magic is pretty much everything. As an example, the definition is making something happen in accordance to your will. Do me a favor. Put your left hand against your nose.
Okay.
I just made something happen in accordance to my will.
Well, but you told me to.
I asked you to do that,
and I did it. Yeah.
So if you take that and expand that concept, you can do anything or make anything happen with your conscious awareness and your motivations and your intentions. And so that's where magic comes in. I highly recommend reading the book, or your participants and such, read the book, The Science of Magic.
And then people can decide for themselves. Just expose yourself to things. Okay.
He teaches it. He teaches how and what.
And what? People say that they do magic on us all the time with words and there's negative and there's positive and it all depends on, the words are what trips people up. So just read it, understand it, see if you agree with it, and just go from there. Okay, so.
Right. Magic is a tool, and it can be used or misused, like any tool.
And if you think of magic as something that your intention and willing it, then prayer is a form of magic, right?
Yes, it's a spell. Yes, and spell working is magical when you put your intention to have something happen. And I'm on a positive path, a very positive path.
Yes,
and
you
so
are. One of the most positive people I've ever met. I just want to say that, people. He is the most positive person I've ever met. Keep going.
Yeah. When you make something happen in accordance to your will, you have all kinds of tools and availability of knowledge and information. And you can do things. Almost every act is an act of magic when you define it and understand how your intentions and how your knowledge and consciousness are applied for an objective and a goal, something you want to see happen.
Okay, well.
And I do magic all the time.
Okay, so I hope you're helping do some magic for my lawsuit. Hope people are out there praying for that. But And I know you sent me an email on that, which I really appreciated and gave me your positive, support. So I really appreciate that. Let's talk about what you mean by everything is connected. And what do you mean? I know you've been doing conference presentations and it's been really received, and people are really, right now, and I know you can feel this, people are hungry for more meaning. We've been subjected to pretty negative, dark things for a long time. And people are moving back to spirituality. A lot of people are moving to religions. They're just trying to figure out and bring more meaning into their life, right? And
Absolutely.
so I know you're feeling that. And I think part of that, everything is connected. What is this, and why are people so moved by it?
Well, everything is connected because we are living in a matrix where the threads connect everything that happens. Everything has got some connection to one another. And you can almost know that by everything we do. There is some thread that connects everything to everything else. When you understand that, then you can accomplish any of the goals you set out to do, including all the positive work and all the information that we gather to make our decisions. The more you know, the better your decisions and the better your discernment. So learning and understanding what's going on in our world helps you make good decisions about how it's going to affect you. And that's where I focus a lot of what we're doing. And I follow the news, I follow your work, I follow all the things that are going on because it's all connected to me on a personal level. I don't mean this egotistically, but I'm connected to everything.
That's
and
right.
I want to know what I need to do to make my life better. And so I follow everything I can.
So when you're giving these presentations, how are you explaining it? I mean, that's a big picture, everything's connected thing. Phil's big picture analysis. But what are you? Yeah, how are we connected? We're living in a matrix, which regardless, it's a matrix of energy and frequency, right? And all of that energy has an effect. Even through water, right? I mean, water's programmed, and we are mostly water, and that our emotion and our energies are just traveling through just water and air, and so when I can feel energy, and everybody's feeling this, kind of like animals that all move to higher ground. We are a herd animal too. We can feel each other, right?
Exactly. And that understanding is a perception, what we call our sixth sense, that perception of something more than our 3D material world. And so when we start looking at a big picture, and I'm a very big picture guy, because when you look at the big picture and you understand it, all the details start to make sense. They start to add up. They start to look like they're connected to the next part and the next part. And when you see it that way, then you can back up and say, okay, now I have a conscious awareness of what's going on, and I want to apply that knowledge for the best of my ability. And that includes all the things we're associated, our food, our water, our environment, everything around us is all part of it. So we're looking to see how we can positively move through the universe, through our awareness of everything. And I guess in looking at it, that big picture, I'm looking to say, who are we? Where did we come from? And so I go back into all of the research that's been done on extraterrestrials, ETs, UFOs, etc. And I look into the history of it. With my studies of anthropology, I went into all the different cultures and found that the ancient knowledge and wisdom supports the things that we're understanding and doing now. We're all connected to it. And so I started to look at it and see what those connections mean to me here and now. And I've been applying what I learned successfully. I do a lot of things, and I'm very happy doing them.
What is the most profound? Yeah, you have a ton of friends and know it. What is the most profound things that you've determined based on all these connections and our history too? Like I don't think our history is what we think it is, and we're connected
No,
to that too.
yeah. We've been misled and lied to quite a bit because they're covering up that which they can't control. Because when I say they, I'm referring to the powers that be, the elite, the deep state, the people that we hear about in that negative way.
Now, when you say deep state, it's just not. I mean, I have a hard time believing it's just people that are not wanting people to know history. Is there another force behind that? I mean, because why would we not want to know our history? The average person who's worked in government for 40 years, why would they give a crap?
So I want to go back to something that I'm very interested in and gathering more and more information. And that is the history of the human race on this planet. We are a hybrid, and this is based on numerous books, researchers, scientists, investigators. We are a hybrid of maybe more than 90 or 100 different ET, extraterrestrial species. Thousands of years, it's well documented too. Thousands of years ago, these beings or certain beings came to this planet and started to genetically modify the most advanced Homo sapiens sapien, the Australopithecus, the knuckle draggers. They took that being and they modified that being with their DNA so that they can have offspring that can tolerate the environment of planet Earth, which has lots of different aspects to it. Our atmosphere, our gravity, our magnetic fields, the sun's radiation.
It wasn't to create a slave species as much as to alter them so they could tolerate this. Were they forced to come here because something happened to their planet?
There's many stories about that, yes. And like I said, there are many different species, so maybe a lot of them had a different agenda. They came from different places. The Pleiadians, the Orion nebulas, and many other places all over the universe or the galaxy. And so we're a blend. And now they are fighting with one another to control the humans so that they can have the most influence.
So
and the history that was covered indicates there's something more going on.
So what we're seeing now is them fighting. When we say a spiritual war, you're saying the spiritual war is really these advanced races. Some people say it's not, it's from different dimensions, not from outer space, but dimensions.
As an example, and this is something that's I've come across. And first of all, let me clarify one big thing. I don't believe anything. I either know or am in the process of getting to know it better in order to know it. So I have an 80-20 rule. I buy into things, I understand things up to 80%. I allow for 20% because there's a lot that I don't know.
Yep. That's a fair, I like that assessment.
And a lot of that I don't know influence. I have to leave it open so that I can learn something more that might influence the other 80%. So going back to some of the research that's been published and the scientists and the books and so forth, we have a genetic blend of a lot of different things. And each culture on this planet were spawned off by the Anunnaki. The word Anunnaki means those from heaven to earth came.
It's in the Bible. That word is in. That's in the Bible. The Anunnaki.
Of course, and it means that the beings that came to our planet, and it didn't say which species, and there were lots of the different species, and they all wanted to influence us. So the the gods and the names that we hear, Anu and so forth, spawned off different parts of the planet and made the Asian, the Chinese, the Orientals, the blacks in Africa, the Aborigines in Australia, the European, the Celtics, all these different, we call them races on this planet, but they're going back thousands of years. They have the genetics of specific alien gods with a small g that spawned off their version of how they wanted. Now, they took those species because planet Earth has resources that their planet didn't have. As an example, one of the very famous stories is about gold. They came here to gather the gold because they could use the gold to atomize it and influence their atmosphere to protect against harmful effects of the radiation of their sun. So that was one of, and in order to get the gold, they developed a species on this planet for slave labor. And they wanted them just smart enough to understand instructions and follow orders. Well, we grew and we evolved and we became more conscious. And that became kind of an issue for them because they can't totally control what they wanted. So there was more nuances that came into play. And like I said, I'm trying to digest this in a short amount of time, but I've been studying it for 60 years. I've got over 1,000 books, and I've been to conferences and lectures. So I'm compiling information based on some very valid resources. So the story is starting to look very clear. Now, like I said, when you look at the big picture and you start looking at the details and see how the details are starting to compile, the big picture starts to make more sense. As an example, one of the things that's current is the fact that the war in the Middle East right now with Israel, Iran, Iraq, and all the other participants is because the main species know there's a portal. There's a stargate in the Middle East. There's many of them, maybe 100 or more. And they're coming in and out of those portals to come onto this planet. They're abducting humans. They're using and manipulating them. They're influencing others in what we call the deep state. And this is just my opinion. I think the deep state are ETs at the top. Okay, the middle level managers that we hear in the news and we hear about in big business, etc., are middle level managers. They report to somebody who reports to somebody who reports to the ETs at the top. And we see that when we start looking at the details. You're wondering, why are they doing this? Why are they doing what they're doing? Because it doesn't make sense. Well, if you knew the overall agenda, it makes sense. So the big picture and the details start matching up.
Well, okay, well, what is matching up? Because why are they creating a total chaos?
Because they can't control what they want to. People are not responsive to their direction. So they're having feedback or pushback. And so there are manipulations and internally, the people at the top or the middle level managers are fighting among themselves as well.
That's right. And even they are fighting different. This is where we talk about a spiritual war. Even they're fighting up amongst themselves too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's an agenda that they don't all share. They have different goals and objectives on planet Earth. Now, planet Earth isn't the only one. This is going on all over the universe and all over this galaxy. There are good stories in books about some of these species. They are conquerors as their species. That's what they do. And they've been conquering for hundreds of thousands, millions of years all over the galaxy. Earth is another target. They came here, they look at it, like our resources, like what we have, and want it. And they take it or try to take it. So one of the things that separates us from some of those negative ETs, we have a soul. We are soul carriers. They do not have a soul. And you know, and we all know, people who just are not human. They're soulless. How could those people do what they do? They don't match the kinds of environment that we live in. They are soulless. And so those ETs that don't have a soul, they want to eat us. We're food. They think that they can consume the human species and gain that part that they don't have, a soul. And so that's one of the great stories. I like it because the details are starting to add up that makes that look true.
Just a quick break from the program. I need to share with you in urgent manner about scam gold IRAs and the important need to make sure that you're working with a trusted company in the precious metal space. I have had hundreds of people come to me now where they have lost 50, 60, 70% of their life savings in these scam gold IRAs. We are having nearly 100% success rate getting their money back. If you have put your life savings into a gold IRA, I implore you to look and see if you have been scammed. Don't trust the company that sold it to you. Make sure you understand what you can get as a buyback value for the gold or silver that you have in your IRA. If you have noticed a significant drop in what you invested, you have more than likely been scammed. We can help you, and there's no shame. Go to sarahwestall.com/Miles Franklin, fill out that form, and we will help you get your life savings back. Wow, okay, well, how do you reconcile what you learned? I mean, because when you were doing above top secret, how much of that can you talk about if it's above top secret?
Well, I was debriefed more than 30 years ago. And I can pretty much talk about anything because it's very old information. And furthermore, most of it is all out there anyway. So what
it was all leaked?
Quote, whistleblower, I can just confirm that, yeah, we back engineered ET craft, okay? So, yeah, we know that already. And yeah, I was part of working with fiber optics. And I know on a personal level, yeah, we back engineered that. Okay, that's where we got it. And we also know our computer chips and our high tech industry is back engineered from various craft that were captured and taken to Area 51, taken to areas all over the planet, and tried to back engineer and gain that knowledge and technology so that we can use it for ourselves. And we have been. That's evident.
Wow. Okay.
How much more is?
So
it's a big picture.
It's really quite interesting, right? Now, how do you distinguish the difference between other dimensions and outer space? Or from different galaxies? Because people are saying, the spirits of the Bible and are really other dimensions, maybe. Do you see it as other dimensions, or do you see it as a combination of all the above?
It has to be a combination of all the above, but interdimensional beings have been identified because we have evidence of like shape shifting. We have evidence of things that go bump in the night. People have had possession. They have taken over somebody's body and become them. And the person that they took over, when they become conscious of what happened, where was I? What happened to me? And they don't know. So some of the little pieces of this that make sense are things like, we know that we're very psychic. And here's an example. Athletes who are in the zone, when they're in that zone, they can accomplish, they can hit a home run, they can make a basket, they can ski jump, they can do all those things when they know they're in an altered state and they're in that zone.
Yes, so everything slows down.
We shift dimensions even in our sleep. We have subconscious, we have out of body travel, we have lots of different things that give us indications that we are more than we see. And that could be defined in what we call dimensions. How many dimensions are there? Some scientists say infinite. Some of them say 100. Some of them say 20. We don't know because we don't have the material tools to measure a lot of what we try to understand. And that's one of the restrictions, or kind of it's kind of the restrictions of science. We don't have all the tools to understand. You can't take scientific like ESP and clairvoyance. You can't take that in the lab and show it and measure it and come up with a data page. It's a different level of energy. And that is the understanding the energies that we exist with. And that is defined in dimensions.
I think there's an ability to
personal experience.
Hold on. I think we're starting to be able to define these energies and measure it, and things are changing. But go ahead about your personal experience.
Yes. I had a personal experience. Now, I don't know that I even experienced it correctly. It's just my interpretation. I was in a meeting, and it's in a SCIF, which is above top secret SCI facility. And I was in a meeting. It was an all-day meeting, lots of different presenters. And I left after the meeting. I forgot my water bottle on the table. I go back into the room, and the security is quite unique. This is where you've heard stories of how our technology is 10, 20 years ahead in certain areas. It is. They had eyeball readers, thumbprints, voice, and facial recognition 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Oh, for sure they did, yeah. Probably longer, yeah.
So I go through those activities, and I get into the conference room, and at the end of the conference room, it was a big audience. It was empty. At the end, one of the scientists that I know, one of the presenters, shifted. I could have swore I saw an ET, a reptilian type being. And in an instant, I mean, a blink of an eye, it was back to human. And I double took and said, what did I see? And the guy just waved, and I said, I forgot my water bottle. I just came back to get it. So he walked up towards me, and he says, okay, I'll see you. And he escorted me back out. Now, what did I see? A hallucination, a real dimensional change, a shift. I don't know, but that took my attention. So I know there's other things that go on that I have a personal connection to. I know there's an intervention. I can tell you one other quick story. I was shopping. I came out of the store, and I was parked in a parallel parking lot, parallel parking. The car in front of me was gone. So I said, well, I can go forward, and I can turn left, make another left, and make another left, and get to the intersection. Or I can go right and turn just one other right and go right to the intersection. That would be faster. So turn the car on, I start moving forward, and my car goes to the left. The steering wheel just turns. And almost I didn't do it, right? It just turned to the left. All right, so I got to the corner, made the left, made the next left. As I approached the intersection, the car who came from another direction, the one I was going to go, had an accident in the intersection. If I had gone the short way, I would have been that car.
Wow. Yeah. So you felt that somebody had helped you, a hand of something. You know, I sense that too. Well, I sense that there's so many things that happen. And, I tell some of my friends, it's amazing because some things happen and I'm not that good. It's just I stumble into it and I can't even get that to happen when I'm trying. And then other things that are super easy, I can't get to happen. You know what I mean? And obviously you go through life and a lot of things, but there's certain things I just said, no matter what I do, I cannot get this to happen. And then there's other things that are absolutely amazing. I'm like, I'm not that good. I don't know how that happened.
Well, here's the whole big picture. There is another dimension or another energy that we interact with that influence our behavior. So we know that. We have experiences. How do we define it? How do we measure it? How do we understand it to the point where we can use it consistently to our advantage? That's a tough one. That's where we're at, trying to get a better handle on the big picture, because the details are obvious. They happen. Things go bump in the night. What's going on, and how do we make an understanding of it to use it effectively in our life? There are tricks, there are tools, and therefore the word magic and the magicians and the shamans and the occult magicians, they put spells together, prayers. They put tools together that we can use to help us understand better. Dowsing rods, I make dowsing rods. I have a pendulum. There's muscle testing. We know those are effective. They've been proven. We know and experience them. So we can use various tools. We can use the knowledge and understanding. We can put prayers together that make sense without using greed or manipulation, and use those understandings and apply them to get what we want the way we want it. Magic. So again, we live in a world where we can start making use of all these resources. And a lot of those resources we call magical tools.
I think some people are going to trigger over the word magic, and I don't think that they need to. I think you can call it whatever you want: energy, intention, using words and power in your way, positive energy. I mean, you can exchange that word for so many words, right?
Yeah, magic is just a word I came across very when I was young, and I liked the way it sounded. I liked the way it was referenced, and I started using it that way.
It's just important because people, I know you love it, and a lot of people love it, but people get kind of hung up on different words, and it's like, well, we gotta really, you use different words that mean the same thing, you just don't realize it. And I think words have a lot of power and a lot of meaning. But when do you think I know that things are accelerating now, but when do you think more and more people, to a point where we have a tipping point of people just saying, hey, we're more than what we're told, and there's just so much more to us? When will there be a tipping point where the average person is like, yeah, I embrace this idea, and those who don't, you cannot, and that's fine, but we need to start embracing this and start figuring this out.
Right. So we've been raised to respect and to admire our leadership and their influence. So we are kind of looking to them for that kind of verification. When we hear it and we know it's confirmed, we know there's scientific data behind it, we start to grow a little bit more confident in the understanding of what's going on. And we start relying on those authorities and trusting them to give us information. And when they say, this is real, this happens, this is what we're doing, and this is why, then we start to get confidence in them.
So you think we need a government to do it? We need a government to do it before the people will.
But someone of authority that you can trust, who's reliable and has integrity.
Well, I think there's a lot.
When you find someone,
yeah, go ahead.
When you find someone, you can hang your hat on what they say. That sounds good to me. I like it. I'm going to do that also.
Well, I have
many
Yeah, with many people like that, and it might just be portions. It might just be pieces of it. Like the remote viewing. I've been doing remote view. I've been training to do it. I just want to learn how to do it. Right? It's kind of like you wanted to learn. I'm like, okay, we're talking about this more. There was I've been working with Daz Smith and their group, the Future Forecasters group. He's one of those, and so I've been learning how to do it. And he had a person that he was training that something like 60, I don't remember the number, I knew before, but between 50 and 60, or even a little more than 60, where within 30 seconds, this person drew it was blind target. All they had was a freaking number, right? And within 30 seconds, they drew the target almost perfectly. They were a much better drawer than I am. And they did it every single time, just right away. And he's like, it was almost savant level abilities, right? And that, I hear things like that, and I said, okay, there's so much more to us. The telepathy tapes that's taking the world by storm. When you start hearing these things, you're like, okay, there's way more to us. And how can that be? And I do think science will be able to explain it. And I think that's what you're saying, is we're all connected. I think spirituality all of this can be explained. We might not understand it yet. We might not have the tools to explain it yet, but it can, because I think science is just the explanation of what is. Right? That's all that science is. We might not be there yet. We might not have the tools yet, but it's just the explanation of what is in a way that is has some format to it, right?
Right. So
we're on the cusp, aren't we?
Yes, and hence my understanding and comment about everything is connected. There are threads that pull all that knowledge and understanding together. When we identify it and we pursue that information, we start seeing what we would call synchronicities, which is the upgraded word to coincidence. There are no coincidences. There are synchronized events that are occurring because everything is connected. When you start to see that thread connect one thing to the other, that gives you confidence in the understanding that you're coming to. And then there's more. And then there's more. When I see three things line up in synchronized events, I know there's something very serious to it, especially when three things line up. And I know it. It's just, I know it. And when I say I know like I know water is wet and fire is hot. Those are absolutes. And there's very few things that are absolute. I had a physics professor that this is one of the great pieces of concept that I understand, or try to understand better. Stand in the middle of a room and walk halfway to the wall. Then walk halfway again. And then take the distance that's left and walk halfway again. You will always get closer, but you will never get there because there's always a distance you can take half of. The same thing with a piece of pie. You take a piece of pie, you cut it in half, you keep half for yourself, and you give away the other half. And you take the piece that you have, cut it in half, keep half for yourself.
Until it becomes so small that you can't see it, and it becomes almost to the single molecule level. But I don't know.
It's infinite.
Yeah.
There'll always be some distance you can take or some piece of the pie that you can cut in half. But you'll always have a piece.
Unless you believe that there's a God molecule that's the smallest possible molecule there can be. If you believe in that, then you get to that point. We're getting real theoretical.
And CERN has published a lot of information on it. And they're going back to what I said earlier about stargates and portals. There's a big stargate under CERN, and that's one of the reasons that they're doing a lot of the experiments. But CERN says they found and identified the God particle. Now, this is my understanding of God. God can only be one thing: the total of all energy, all matter, everything.
Yeah.
Because if it's not that, you got to give it limited limitations, and God doesn't have limitations, so therefore it's everything.
It's everything. And that's why you can say God knows all, because it's everything.
It's everything. And everything is connected. So now we can start looking at this big picture and seeing how the pieces come together. What is involved in a goal being achieved? We don't know, because we just keep working at it. And we understand most of the pieces. I can make a recipe. I make dinner. I can follow a recipe. And I can modify it for my tastes. I can add things or take things out, and I can make it the way I want it. So I made something happen in accordance to my will and my taste, and I'm pleased with it. And I can repeat it. Maybe repeat it, because sometimes I do things on the spur of the moment. But still, we know and understand the ingredients that make up the final goal or the final objective. So we work with a lot of it. This is a very, very big, complex picture. I love it.
It is. Yeah, it is.
You never run out of things to understand.
Well, yeah, we're just, our brains aren't capable of it yet, right? I mean,
Well, here's another part to that. We're beginning to understand that it isn't just us in our conscious mind, in our brain. We have a global conscious network. We're connected to an Akashic record, a global internet, the Internet of Things. Everything is connected. So therefore, my understanding and my consciousness is totally connected.
Well, but that's probably what's behind remote viewing, right? Anyways, keep going.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I consider myself, and I've understood this about myself, I'm an open channel. When I start talking and start getting involved in doing things, being creative, being attentive to something, I get information comes to me that I need to accomplish what I'm trying to do.
Well, some people believe that's God, right? That's a calling from God. But keep going.
Yes, that's right. It could be, because God is everything, right?
Yep.
And we're connected to. I gave a presentation at a paranormal forum, and I was giving this lecture, and I was talking about frequency and vibration. And the story came out of my mouth. Okay. In the ancient times, going back hundreds of years, when there was a battle in the field, the shaman, the medicine man, would go into the battlefield after the battle and look to see, like a triage, would look to see who could be saved and who couldn't. When they came across somebody who was wounded, they sing song, a chant, and beat their drum and sang a song, a frequency that suspended the wounds and allowed the people to take them back to the tribe for healing. When they came across someone who was too far gone, couldn't be saved, they would sing song and beat a drum with a different tone, and that would allow that being to transition into death without pain and suffering. And I didn't know that. It just came out of my mouth. I was talking about frequency and vibrational energy, and that story came out.
Where did you learn that? Did you not know that story before?
No, I just came out of my mouth.
Is it true? Did you find it after you said it?
Followed up on it, and I finally got to be. I talked to a Native American shaman many years later, because I studied shamanism with the Seven Arrows tradition.
Yep.
I came across one of the shamans, and he said, "That's one of our secrets that we don't talk about. It's not written down anywhere. It's only passed down between a shaman and his apprentice."
Why does it have to be secret? I don't understand why that would have to be secret, though. It doesn't have to be. You talked about it. You said it in a conference that if God gave it to you,
yes,
it's not supposed to be secret.
But this is in the current times, and what he was referring to was hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And they didn't want people to have certain knowledge, and it's still true today, that they could misuse and manipulate,
That's
use
right.
it for purposes. So they keep it secret and they keep it classified. That's one of the primary reasons for classified.
Well,
So
that's the good reason for classified, but there's also negative reasons, right? There's good reason we don't want this technology in the wrong hands. And then there's the bad reason of we want to control people. And so it depends on the agenda.
It's exactly, like, it's a tool that can be used or misused.
That's right.
And often say tools are very valuable, but you got to understand the tool and how it can be applied. And when you know and understand that, and why, is the why part is very important. When you know and understand and why, you can use it appropriately without misusing it.
That's right. Okay, you're just so fascinating. You have a deep well of information and knowledge and a different way of looking at the world, which is a lot. You know, you came on the show about 5 years ago now, probably more than that, 8 years ago now. And we talked about the strongest energy that's ever measured. And it was measured at the UCLA by, I can't remember the doctor's name now. And it was love. And she was studying different energies. And Beverly Hunt, I think is her last name. And we talked about this in one of the shows, and it was one of the best shows we ever done on how energy is the strongest force ever recorded.
Yeah. Love is the most powerful energy. When you apply your activities in a state of love, you can accomplish you can accomplish anything. You make things happen.
You don't take no for an answer. Right? You're just completely focused. Like, get out of my way.
Yeah. And you hear stories about it comes from my heart. I get a gut feeling about it. I just know it. It feels so good. Those are the expressions of love. And when we act in love, we get what we want the way we want it, as long as we don't have negative influences, manipulation, somebody's greedy, doing something that is not appropriate. So that's how we understand things. And the other part that kind of dampens that is fear. When there's fear, which is a very destructive force, fear will prevent something from happening. You stop it. You don't know, because you don't have that feeling of love. And
it paralyzes you.
Mother Nature's realm, there is the yin and yang, equal and opposite opposing forces of nature. And I am currently studying pretty deeply into the Tao, like in the Tao Te Ching, ancient wisdom knowledge of the East. And when I say ancient, I'm talking about the areas of China and the Oriental areas going back hundreds of years, not 20 years ago, not 50 years ago.
Thousands, right?
100. So the knowledge that goes into that is 5, 6, 7,000 years old. And the Tao is all about nature, Mother Nature's rules, and the nature of things that go on. So when we follow, and it's not nice to fool Mother Nature, but when we follow nature's rules and laws, we accomplish what we need. We accomplish what we need to do. And we interact with everyone because our energy in our aura, which is a field of energy about us, starts to permeate into everything. People, you've met people and hugged them and know their energy just feels good. This is a good person.
That's
and you
right.
know someone you don't want to touch again.
That's right. There's just different. Now, the opposite of love isn't anger, is it? It's fear.
It's fear, and fear is probably the biggest derogatory aspect, because fear comes in many different forms. And when you are afraid of something, that is a negative energy coming in. And so it's not just our energy. We're part of everything connected.
Well, because
So when we
anger
talk,
can be a righteous anger, right? That comes out of love in a lot of ways. And so anger isn't
yeah,
necessarily a negative energy, whereas fear, well, fear isn't necessarily either, right? I mean, there really isn't an opposite to love, is there?
yeah,
Hatred?
it,
Hatred?
it's a matter of the definitions, how we define it, and how we apply what we understand. Yeah. And like you were mentioned earlier, we have a lot of words that can be misused and misunderstood. And we change the words, and interpretations are another factor that come in. We interpret things differently
That's
in
right.
each of them. So there's languages, there are interpretations, there are dialects, there are all these nuances in communications that distort a real truth. Again, philosophy. How do we understand it in the way we apply it? And
That's
that's
right.
where I think it's important. I'm a very tangible guy. I work with my hands and do things. So I always think of in terms of applying the knowledge, applying the information. When you can apply it consistently and show results, then you can rely on it. Then you can say, yep, water's wet. I know it. I know it. Fire is hot. I know it. I put my finger in that flame and got burned.
Okay, so you've been speaking at different conferences lately. Where can they find you and hear you next? And maybe follow Phil.
It's mostly local. I'm not traveling anymore. There's issues with flying. I don't fly anymore. I flew so much, so often, I'm done with flying. If I can't drive there, I'm pretty much not going.
Okay,
But
so it's
I'm
more in
local
Colorado.
in the Denver metro.
Okay, and other than on my
Colorado.
podcast, so they can find you in Colorado at some of the local events or on my show.
Well, you can contact me. My email is wizard1phil@gmail.com.
Okay,
And
excellent.
my phone number is
Oh, don't give out your phone number. You can give it out if you want. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I it's in a lot of places anyway.
Okay.
303-870-8116. And I respond as best I can, and I'm always pretty much available. I've been retired for quite some time. I haven't worked at the lab for maybe about 2 years now. There's other things that are going on. It's still operating. Max is busy with a bunch of his stuff also. And so I haven't gone down and worked on any of the things in the lab. We've kind of farmed out a lot of the mundane physical activities. We still maintain a whole big understanding of the whole process, but I haven't worked in that realm for a year and a half, 2 years now.
Well,
But
it's
I'm
kind of
doing
nice, isn't it? It's kind of nice. You're just doing what you want to do.
I'm doing what I want to do. I do arts and crafts shows. I make drums, Native American hoop drums. I teach classes. I've taught classes making Native American hoop drums for 45 years.
Wow.
I have helped 500 people make drums. And I do it at my spiritual retreat, Dragon Fest, which I've been doing that for 37 years. I've got 2 classes scheduled right now. They're planned, but they're not scheduled because one of the ladies still working with her kids and her husband and friends to try and get them together to pick a size drum they want to make and the kind of hides, elk, deer, etc. I'm just doing all the time.
You're
And
just
I love
doing
it.
what you love, which is where so many people want to be.
It's to me, it's not hard. It's just go do it. Just go do it. And like I said, I understand that everything is connected, so I can get there from here. I can get there from here. And I do.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. You're always just a breath of fresh air. You have great energy. Like I told people at the beginning, you are always positive. You're one of the most positive people I've ever met. And so when I run into people who are just always positive, always trying to do good, I just absolutely love it. I love it. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining the program.